waiting for the stream to begin. This will be an interesting little test. It was fun to get out of my studio last week. I brought you outside to see some of the damage that had transpired over the previous week on our fence. We have these vines growing. They actually grow just behind me, and I took the computer outside, and you got to see a little bit of the outside. And I thought I would do that again this week. It's a really pleasant day. It's actually going to be a very warm day here, and there's a little bit of experiment. We'll have some car blowing noise. There's some roofing going on across the street. Hopefully the mic is capturing the audio cleanly, and I need a little backlight to separate me from the background. But what I wanted to talk about today is I've had a couple interesting experiences, and one was a really interesting man that I met. I went to the Dodger game last night, and fortunately the Dodgers won, which was important because San Francisco won, and we're in a tight pennant race with San Francisco and San Diego. San Diego lost, so we increased the distance of our third place trailers. They're farther behind us, but we're still one game away from San Francisco. And I got to talking to the man who was sitting in front of me, very heavy-set man, Hispanic, totally different race, totally different background. He grew up in Echo Park. He asked me where I grew up. I grew up in West LA, West Los Angeles. He now lives in Las Vegas. But what was really interesting was he wanted to talk about his work. He's a post-tensionist. And I said, what's a post-tensionist? And he said, Google it. So during the game, I Googled it, and my best understanding is that a post-tensionist is he's a steel worker, an iron worker, and he creates basically, he puts iron in tension to support reinforced concrete that is laid around it. And he said, like people work in construction and they say, and I'm like, yeah, they do driveways, and they do a driveway and 3 cracks appear in the driveway. He says, in what I do, we can't have any cracks because you can't, he's working right now on the 6th Street Bridge project in downtown Los Angeles. And that's a suspension, it's a kind of bridge that has a lot of tension under suspension. And so he's got these post-tension, I'm going to say infrastructure that is welded in place and then cemented in place that is holding the bridge together, and any crack suggests that the bridge is not stable. It's not supported the way it's supposed to be. What was really interesting about him is he was very polite. He called me sir. Yes, sir. Every sentence was sir. He said, I'm not, within our first 3 exchanges, he said, there's no way, he said, I'm not as smart as you. My kids were with me, and we were talking to my kids at one point, and he said, I'm not as smart as your dad, kids, and don't mistake his kindness for weakness. But I can just tell he's a great dad and a very smart man. And then he was very proud to tell us he makes $120,000 as a welder. He does, I said, you work really hard. He said, yeah, I do 60 hours a week, so he gets a lot of overtime. And it was just really interesting to make this connection with a perfect stranger who was very present with me, and he was very engaging. And of course, when Will Smith hit a 2-run home run to put the Dodgers ahead 2-1, high fives, and and at the end of the game, we actually moved our seats over to be a little closer to the action. Said goodbye to him, shook his hand. It was really a powerful human connection made with a perfect stranger, and completely unanticipated, and I think that's one of the reasons we like going into these public spaces. And I want to say that it's not an accident that I'm talking about this today, because in California today is June 15th. Well, it's June 15th around the world. California's not special. We don't have our own calendar. But what's special about June 15th in California is it's our opening up day. We have put, officially, legally, we have put the COVID pandemic behind us, and we're opening up into society again. It's the first day we can go fully unmasked everywhere. Dodger Stadium tonight will have its first game where it will be full capacity. So as many people as they can get to come out tonight are going to come, and they are promoting the heck out of this week. Bobbleheads and T-shirts, and T-shirt giveaways tomorrow night, bobblehead giveaway tonight. And it sort of made me wonder, the reopening is so exciting. Why do the Dodgers feel they need to prime the pump? Why do they feel they need to add these promotions like a bobblehead? Tomorrow night is a Mookie Bets t-shirt. And I think what it's about is that we have gotten really used to being cocooned in our space. I don't think that's a powerful insight. What I think, but I think it's something that we're all talking about. You know, one friend of mine posted on his Facebook post, now that we're starting to reemerge and socialize, I'm exhausted. I don't have the energy for this. And I've talked to other people who feel the same way, that the kind of life that we had before, we were used to the energy expenditure it took to be with people all the time. And now we're in an environment where we've been, you know, for the last 15 months in an environment where where our social interactions are very controlled, you know, for health reasons, for a very logical reason why it was controlled. But we really only saw the people that we felt safe, comfortable seeing, you know, on a day-to-day basis. And and that comfort was a very specific and clear, and the idea of what safety was a very specific and clear idea of what that safety looked like. It was people we were potting with, or people that were literally in our household who we knew who had the same limited or no exposure to potential infection that we had had. That was the rule. And of course, what we missed out in that environment were those amazing accidental serendipitous connections like I had with the man at the Dodger game. You know what, one of the things I regret the most about my interaction with the man, I never asked him his name. I feel like I want to go down to the 6th Street Project and look him up, you know, just hunt him down and just say, thank you, you know, thank you for being an accessible human man, you know, humane person connecting as people. We weren't, you know, it was not a phony interaction. It was very sincere. And I feel like I want to go down to the 6th Street Construction Project and thank him for that. He talked about how he's moved up in his work, and now he's sort of a supervisor and he's telling other people what to do. He's been at it for 20 years. You know, he really was very proud of what he's accomplished, as he should be, because he's accomplished a tremendous amount. And he mentioned he's living in Las Vegas now, which he just says is fine, but it's just super hot. So he's actually working in his crew in LA now, so it's a pleasure for him to be here, where it's a lot more comfortable. You know, the temperature's a lot more comfortable. And he just seemed proud and satisfied with his lot, I guess is another way to say it. And so now that we're sort of reemerging back into this life, I think we get a chance to reassess what all our interactions are. You know, at this moment, my wife is still working from home. I know she happens to be on a business call where she's talking with her team about what the future may look like. And there are certain restrictions that they're undergoing, but they're preparing themselves for what this re-entry is going to look like. And there's certain other logistics, they're moving offices and all that. With a client yesterday, you know, an executive coaching client, we talked about the same thing. How are you reaching out and connecting with your staff? What do you want the new world to look like? You have a chance now to kind of reinvent the world. What do you want it to look like? And I think that's something that's really powerful about where we are in this historical moment. We have a chance to reinvent the world and figure out how we want it. We have new options to control our interaction in a way we never have before. And I would only hope, I can hear the sauce starting up, I would only hope that as we control those interactions, we are able to maximize it, that we're able to maximize what works for us and the people around us, what allows us and the people around us to feel safe, but that doesn't close out those accidental encounters, those day-to-day interactions with other people, where we get to see the holiness in other people. And Abraham Joshua Heschel and his book, I and Thou, just came to mind. One of the things he talks about there is looking for an I-thou relationship between two people instead of an I-it relationship. You know, an I-it relationship is where, you know, we have functional objects. We use these for a specific purpose, and you know, we take a sip of water, it's completely utilitarian. When we're done with it, we leave it on, we don't care about it, we have no human interaction. Heschel asks us to make sure we're transforming our human interactions from these kind of commercial, transactional, utilitarian, where we're treating the other person as an it, to a thou, an I-thou relationship where, if I understood Heschel correctly, and Heschel is very complicated, he's talking about admitting the divine into the connection between you and me, so that we are two divine beings connecting, not two transactional beings. It's almost like he's asking us to be more than human. And I think that's something we can aspire to and see where we can find the opportunity for that level of connection as we reconnect in the world. Thanks for joining me on this Facebook Live Tuesday and YouTube Live Tuesday. Possibly in the future it's going to be a LinkedIn Live Tuesday once I get that link souped up. Check me out on my YouTube channel at Mark Rothman Progress Coach, on my Facebook page at Mark Rothman Progress Coach, and always check out my website, markcoach.net. Thanks for being with me. I'll see you next Tuesday.